during the session when there seems to be a good break, but go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kevin. And from my side, it is very good morning. So good morning to all, good afternoon and good evening from to all other locations. And today's topic is mastering Dataflows Gen2 in Microsoft Fabric. Build one time and reuse it wherever you want it, whenever if you are working on the Microsoft Fabric. So I will showcase you in the two scenarios how we are going to reuse it uh, at Power BI level, I mean from BI desktop, and also how we are going to reuse it while building the pipelines. So how we are going to pull it over the data flows and try to build a pipeline. So two different approaches I will showcase to you so that it's very interesting. So I'm expecting, like, if you have any questions, you can uh, post it in the chat, or you can also ask me, or else just raise your hand digitally and you can connect with me as well. And before moving on to this topic, I would like to give myself an intro, brief intro about myself. I'm Rajendra Ongole, and I'm a data platform MVP on both MS Fabric and Power BI, and community super user where I'm sharing the knowledge and providing the solutions whenever I will feel like I will get some good times. And Microsoft certified trainer. And if you want to reach out to me, you can connect me via my LinkedIn handle, which I'm uh, posted in the down part. And I'm also very interested in writing the blogs, and that's my site, dataanalyticgroup.com/blog. So you can find my blogs there on like new topics on Microsoft Fabric and data agents recently, which I have released. And sooner I'm going to get it a release also, a book publications. So it's very interesting. I mean, sharing the knowledge to the public as well as I mean, whatever the supporting on the topics, Microsoft Tech Stack. Thank you about it. And coming to this today's agenda, understanding the data flow Gen2 in Microsoft Fabric, and how we are going to build it over and how we are going to pull over this data flow Gen2. It's almost as similar like an online Power Query, I mean Power BI desktop level Power Query editor, but we are going to work on the cloud basis. So here how we are going to configure and how we are going to pull over the data via Microsoft Fabric data flow Gen2. We are going to discuss about it, and we will explore the ways of extracting the data once we'll create the lake houses. So via Dataflow Gen2, I'm going to showcase you one simple scenario, like pulling over the CSV file to the Dataflow Gen2 and how we are going to call and what type of a transformations. It's just like a Power Query editor, right? Types of transformations that we are going to perform in Microsoft Fabric. And as I said, integrating the Dataflow Gen2 and the pipelines in Microsoft Fabric. Within Microsoft Fabric, I'm going to showcase to you once the data flow Gen2 wise, we extract it, and how we are going to configure and integrate that particular extracted data via pipeline. That part I'm going to showcase to you as well. And followed up with the demos. And if you have any questions, as I said, you can ask me. Let's try to introduction of this data flow Gen2. Basically, we are aware of it. If you have some data source systems, if you want to get connect to it, either via Power BI desktop, we are very clear via get data, we can pull it over and we can try to perform the data transformations in Power BI desktop. But here, if you're working with the larger data sets and if your configurations of the files is very more, in such kind of a scenario, there is earlier we have a data flow Gen1, but as per the space and the capacities which is as the data is growing, so we can try to use, if you're using the Microsoft Fabric, the raw data to perform the same features as like an Power Query editor. These activities we are going to perform in the online Power Query editor. Like we are going to extract it, perform the data transformation inside of it, maybe the seamless part, and as well as we can load all these activities into the Power BI, I mean cloud activities part, and perform that whatever the transformations that you want to perform at cloud environment basis. And Dataflow Gen2 allows you to extract the data from whatever you are currently extracting in the Power BI desktop, 100 plus data source systems. Similarly, in the cloud-based Microsoft Fabric, Dataflow Gen2 will also allows you to pull over the different various variety of data source systems, and we can perform the internally the wide variety of data transformations and load it to the destination. So here, when you are using the Dataflow Gen2, we have to configure where that particular file will be get it located. Either it is a lake house or we want to move on to the existing any databases, SQL databases. When you're working on this Microsoft Fabric, we can have to get it configure the data destination. So by default, once if you are working on this services part, the dedicated workspace will be get allocated. So it will be configured by default data destination. But maybe if you want to change or else any moving off to other workspaces, we can also configure that data destinations on this Microsoft Fabric as well. So it has been included for the data pipelines, and most of the times, if you are as a data analyst, we can make use of this process flow when if you are working with a huge data complexities. Fine. If you're observing here, exploring the Dataflow Gen2 in Microsoft Fabric on the right hand side, it's the same. Uh, Once you open the Power BI desktop level Power Query, the same activity is like a Power Query pen. We are going to observe it with all the components and features like transform, add column, and so on. On the left hand side, if you're observing the connected tables, we are going to call it as queries. So example orders, I just duplicated with orders too. Like that, we can do that extraction of these queries and we will call it as a queries. And the center, the data view, which you are observing along with this diagram of this image. We can also at the top, we can also perform some more transformations. Maybe if you want to do just a kind of a pipeline building, we can perform further activities on the top of via diagrams. And the fourth part is the data which you are currently observing. So whatever the changes that are going to reflect on the canvas, you can see all the list of columns that are going to available in this center part. Coming to the query settings, if you are observing the right hand side, those are all the transformations which has been listed on the connected table. So whatever the activities you are performing on the pulled over data, those transformations will be listed over on your right hand side applied steps. We will call it as a data transformation steps as well. So almost it's a similar features what you are going to observe at the Power BI desktop level Power Query. So what is the advantage? Maybe if we can move on to the Dataflow Gen2. So as I said, if you're working on the huge data source system, and if you want to reduce the improve the performance and reduce the load of your files while extracting the data from Power BI desktop. So Dataflow Gen2 is the better option to get it extract. So most of us familiar on Power Query editor level data transformations. So we can try to extract it via cloud environment and we can store it. And from there, maybe if you want to still continue with the Power BI desktop, we can pull it over from Power BI desktop, Microsoft Fabric environment as well, the connected tables and so on. You don't need to perform further part, any more cleansing operations inside this Power BI desktop. Maybe you'll get a question. So Rajendra, once I imported the file, once I can pull over the file, Dataflow Gen to the Power BI desktop, yes, we still can proceed with few more transformations on the top of it. But better to perform these transformations in the cloud environment if you're working with a huge information. So one of the real-time requirement which I have worked. So most of the data transformations I have performed at the cloud-based environment, that is Dataflow Gen2. And after that, I pulled over that particular data flows via Power BI desktop, and inside few more transformations will we get allowed, we can perform inside Power Query Editor, Power BI desktop level as well. If you're observing, as I said, use Power Query and the data transformations. On the left-hand side, the data destination configurations are very important. So where, once you created the Dataflow Gen2, where we are going to store that particular information, the transformed data or else transformed file, source systems. So you can configure it as per the Fabric environment workloads has been provided. Lake houses, you can configure in the existing lake houses, the raw data when processed informations, or maybe if you want to store or else that data destination, if you want to get it configure warehouses as well, data warehouse or SQL and other loading operations like databases, we can configure it, or maybe it's completely low code platform, we can inject it and we can perform any kind of a transformations. And you have to set the destination where that processed file will be get it located or else stored, either it is a lake house or warehouse if you're building or working on the SCD type tools, or current in the database part as well. So all the transformations, if you're observing as similar as like which you are going to perform in the Power Query Editor. So on the right hand side, advanced query editor looks like a summary even in the Dataflow Gen2 as well. As I said, loading the data via Dataflow Gen2, most of the transformations we are going to perform at the cloud. Once it is done, you can perform the choosing of the new data source systems as well, or maybe if there is any file already existed, I can add it or to the lake houses, or I can also append the new source system, like by adding the data destination via lake house. As I said, data destinations, but these are the features we can configure the data destinations. Once you have configured properly, we can publish that particular file onto the lakehouse, whatever the data destinations that have been chosen. It will take few minutes to get it executed, and you can see the status, whether it is success or is there any failure. Maybe if you are connecting to the on-premises, like example, MS SQL Server, SQL Server Management Studio, which is an on-premises. And if you want to get it load and connected to the tables, we need to have proper gateway connections. Gateway management is also required. Maybe if you're connecting to the static files or some local files, we need to have some gateway configurations to be get it done, and then we can store the files as well. And sometimes, like once my data is available in the lakehouse, I want to get it configured with some scheduler. Such kind of a scenario you can configure via data pipeline. So that process part I'm going to showcase to you in the practical mode, so that you will get some idea how we can configure this, how we are going to create the lakehouses part and store the information in this lakehouse as plus pipeline builder. This is very important, which I'm going to showcase to you. So once the Dataflow Gen2 via Dataflow Gen2, once the data extracted, how can we process it and how we are going to integrate that particular data file to the pipeline. So as I said, I want to get it configure that extracted data file to some dedicated time zone. In such kind of a scenario, for the scheduling part, we can also get it integrate with the pipeline. We can configure it. So if you're observing, pipeline will help you to configure and even for the data ingestion part, and we can also schedule as per the times. If you're observing the right hand side, either you can configure the minute by minute, the frequency part, hourly or weekly or monthly basis, so that the file will be getting executed as per the time zones, and the new data will be getting reflect back to the connected lake houses too. So most of the times we will use the copy data, which is all the features from where the source location to the destinations will be get populated, and we can also integrate the data flows. And maybe still, if you want to do some advanced statistical analysis, we can add the notebook on the top of it, so that we can perform the further different set of languages in the notebook, like a PySpark or Scala. These languages wise, we can do some advanced statistical analysis too. So what I will do in this sense, as a part of our today's activity, I will showcase to you the creating the workspace and as well as the lakehouse, and as a part of our learning Dataflow Gen2 by extracting some of the file, a complete ETL process where I'm going to add some new columns, and as well as how we are going to integrate that processed, extracted file to the data pipeline building, and how that file I can configure to the Power BI desktop level, how I'm going to reuse it via Power BI desktop level. That part also I'm going to showcase to you. Hope if you have any queries, please let me know. I'm changing my screen to the browser. Hope you're able to see this. Browser, able to
Yeah,
view?
we can still see it.
Okay. So this experience, we are aware of it, app.powerbi.com, so which we have to get created some workspace, and from here we can navigate and do, if you are familiar with the Microsoft Fabric activities and workloads, I will just give a brief about itself. How we can move or shift from Power BI to this. So currently I'm the Power BI app.powerbi.com cloud environment. So here, if you're observing the Power BI, or maybe you can shift it to the Fabric experience, and we can see different workloads that are going to available in this Fabric workloads. So you can just shift it. And here, maybe if you want to get start with this Fabric environment, we need to have proper dedicated licenses. Either you can start with the Fabric capacities, or maybe if you want to do some trials, you can also use the trial account should be activated, and we can get start as well. So currently, if you're observing, I'm using the trial account. Trial account has been activated on the top of my pro license. I started working on this Fabric related topics. How these features and functionalities are working, and I'm testing all over to implement on my real-time case studies. So First of all, if you want to get started, we need to have a proper or dedicated workspace. So how we are going to get it create a workspace? So if you're observing the left-hand side, it's a simple topic. So workspace is nothing but a repository to store your content like dashboards or reports. Maybe if you are building extracting some data from different various sources, like a lake houses level or a data warehouse, if you want to build on the cloud environment, everything you can get it created via this particular dedicated workspaces itself. Let me create it one workspace data demo, and I'm using currently Pro license. Already trial is activated. I'm using the trial for fabric capacity. You can see here fabric capacity trial. Basically, Pro will not work out directly to work on this fabric related items like workloads. You cannot able to create any lake houses and so on. You have to get it activated the trial account so that you can start working on these workloads, fabric related workloads. So where we are going to see this fabric workload. So if you're observing, I just created the workspace and you can see this fabric content is enabled, the diamond symbol. And just to give a glimpses here, what is the difference also? If you're observing, some of the workspaces which you are observing, these are fabric related content, which will allows you and accept fabric related workloads. And whatever, if you're observing other than the diamond symbol, this will not allow any of the fabric related. Maybe if you want to get start with this fabric related content, it will not get allowed anything like whatever the workloads that are available at fabric content. So we need to make sure that it's a fabric content related part. So how we are going to identify? So if you're observing the new items part here, I have configured some fabric. Other than that, if you're observing, these are all the fabric related workload. You can start doing the data visualizations, or you can get it start with the get data options via data pipelines, or maybe if your data is very smaller, you can configure with the data flow Gen2, Gen1 as well. And if your data is very bigger, and make sure that uh, the transformations are huge and complex. In such kind of a scenario, Dataflows Gen2 is for the data preparation and transformation. Even we can perform the real-time intelligence concepts like real-time data extractions via event stream or event house basis. We can get it extract. And for the storing, if you're observing, segregation part, if you're seeing, so data storage part, Cosmos DB and so on, you can, various variety of data source systems will be get it visible here to you. So fine. First of all, if you want to get start with some data load, and as well as I want to get it extract the data via Dataflow Gen2. So what to do now? So let's try to create a lake house. So I'm just start creating the lake house to store some data, and as well as I want to get it extract via various or variety of other source systems. Okay, so how we are going to do that? Lake house. Let me create a lake house, giving the name as data LH is the lakehouse name. Don't provide any spaces, it will not get allowed space. Schema is by default. Earlier it was preview feature, now it is public feature. So you can see the schema defines as well, like by default, you can see something like a DBO schema, database object schema. Earlier we don't have this functionality. So it has been allowed, and you can see on the left hand side, there is the view. Once your lakehouse has been created. And this is with the current lakehouse data LH. And these are the two folders which you are currently observing. One folder which stands for the table, that is managed information will be get allowed. Managed in the sense tabular information, which is completely cleansed data will be get allowed in this. And the files, maybe if your data is semi-structured or unstructured, or maybe if you want to get it extract some external data source systems like Google CPs, or maybe Amazon S3 buckets, or from Azure blob storages, some shortcut wise. In such kind of a scenario, unstructured or semi-structured, we can pull it over the data source systems part via files. So here also you can start getting creating some subfolders, a kind of a maintain some hierarchies as well. So you said something like a shortcut, right? Where it is. So here, the files part, you can see something like a shortcut, so that if your data from your external sources systems, if you're pulling, so you can make use of from S3 buckets or blob storage accounts, ADLS2 and so on. Fine. So what our primary motto here? So let's try to get extract the data various ways here. If you're observing once the lakehouse has been get created, maybe you can upload some files simply, just like how we will do it in Power BI desktop level sample files. Some of the sample data files Microsoft is providing. You can also play with this, like yellow taxis or weather related or stock market and so on, stock market data sets and so on. You can also play with this. And the shortcuts, just now I have explained to you. Maybe if your source is resides some external environment like Amazon or Google CPs, we can make it use of new shortcut and we can get it extract. Shortcut in the sense we are not duplicating the same information inside of this fabric. We are just connecting over. That's the main motto here. You can see this icon as well. And currently we are going to use as a part of our scenario new Dataflow Gen2, which is almost as same as the Power Query Editor experience, which we are going to observe now. And as a low-code platform, we can pull it over and we can also see some data transformations, which we'll try to build with the M functions too. And the new pipeline, maybe if you are very familiar with data factories, we can inject the data. And here we can, important feature, we can also schedule the data via workloads. Fine. Other than that, get data into the workspace. If you're observing from here also, you can see the similar features and configurations. So you can upload it and so on. And some of the important key areas that I just want to explore it, I mean, showcase to you here. Once the lakehouse has been get created on the right hand side, if you're observing, currently we are in the lakehouse experience, and even we can try to shift from lakehouse to the SQL Analytics endpoint. Maybe we can query the data after that processing part, and you can optimize your connected table or information. That part also you can shift it within the same lakehouse configuration itself. So the changes will be get it auto instantly reflect to your tables, or maybe if you are using still the files, you can see that informations too. Fine. Let's try to get it extract the data. And here, once the lakehouse has been get created, the data will be get it stored in the form of delta packet file format. That means I'll just try to give a simple Therefore, so maybe if you are extracting very huge information to the cloud, it will not get a good idea. So here the data will be get stored in the form of a columnar storage processing, not by row. So the data files will be get stored in the form of a columnar. So we will call that information like in the JSON file backend. Once it will be get occupied or available the file, I will showcase to where it is and how it looks like in this extracted file. Fine. Let's connect with one of the table as a set via Dataflow Gen2. So let me create via get extract the data. You can see different ways of extractions, like as I said, here or in the center. So currently as a part of our session, I'm going to showcase to you that new Dataflow Gen2. Gen 1 is not allowed because we are going to play with the huge information. So such kind of a scenario, Microsoft Fabric to store the complex data, and maybe if you are performing huge transformations, Gen 2 is allowed here. Gen 1 is, you can see that feature when if you have a pro license and if you're working with the uh, smaller capacity of your data source system. But here, once you can configure the Microsoft Fabric, Gen 2 is allowed. I mean, maybe I have created one separate slide in my presentation, the differences between Gen 1 and Gen 2 as well. Let me give some name to this, like example, order details, data flow. See here, from Lakehouse, so how can we identify the changes? So if you're observing, this is the icon for the Lakehouse, which is just a showcase to with the two different folders, files and as well as the tables. Inside the schema is also available inside the table. And this is the icon for the data flow. So currently you are in the data flow. So you can see the similar experience as like Power BI desktop level, the get data window, like we can extract the data from any kind of a source system. And here, if you are observing that data destination configuration, suppose if it is very clear path to get it stored in the right source, right location, we can proceed it. Or maybe if we want to change that data destination to some another workspaces, some different workspaces, we can also change it. That part also, if time permits, I will showcase to you. First, let's try to extract the data which is already available via, maybe I'm using the text slash CSV, importing the data and pull it over. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. 1 second. So as I'm using the trial account, sometimes I'm experiencing this kind of an error notifications too. And the fabric capacities, it will be get start from F2 and more than that, like F2, F4, F8, F32, and F64, as per the data that you're using and the workloads that you want to make use of in your real time. Let me extract it, text/CSV. So the file is already available in one of my GitHub. So let's try to pull it over. Our orders table is fine. If required, I will provide this GitHub of mine account so that you can also play. Publicly available. So let me copy this path. Here the connections part, I have already configured it. So you can provide a different name to this connection name. So by default, whatever the path you are using, GitHub path, it is configured. You can change and give a dedicated name. Gateway configuration is none. Authentication mechanism, anyway, I'm using the local file, which is already available in GitHub. I'm using authentication with anonymous. Or maybe if you are getting connected with dedicated or office related accounts, we can use the organizational or dedicated server details, like me, if you are connecting to the databases and so on. So I'm using authentication, which is in like some local file path locations. Click on next. Any questions in chat?
Yeah,
Are
there
we good?
was one. There
Okay.
might be two. I just saw that. Okay. James was asking, sometimes staging seems to be required to succeed, sometimes it is not. Can you
Yes.
explain why why it is or is not required?
Yeah, enable staging when you're extracting the data via pipeline. This feature is by default enabled staging part. So sometimes like when you're pulling over the day-to-day basis raw data, so to store the current information, the extracted are as temporary data for some time. Such kind of a scenario, staging is definitely required. Or maybe if you are very good on the data part, you want to load it directly onto the next level, like enterprise level data warehousing, like maybe the dedicated, we will follow the Medallion architecture. In such kind of a scenario, you can ignore it, we can remove it, and we can proceed further to get it loaded into the enterprise level data warehouses as per the lakehouse, which has been created accordingly. So this feature depends upon the requirement. Maybe if you want to get it analyzed thorough data and the complete whatever the extracted data for current day, such kind of a scenario staging area should be enabled via when you're pulling the data information from a pipeline. Otherwise, we can skip it over. That's what we will follow in our real-time cases. Hope it is
Yeah,
explained
I
as
think James.
expected.
Yeah, I think James could respond if it needs
Okay.
more. I'm
So
gonna also put a
yeah.
question out here. It says, does Microsoft have a page somewhere explaining which names are case sensitive and which allow spaces? I saw Dataflow Gen2 has a
Yes.
space in its name, but the Lakehouse does not. And yeah, I
Not
agree.
yes. Yeah, exactly. So it will not get allowed some space. If you are providing some space means it will not identify and it will ask you to add some underscore or maybe if you have to combine the words. So when you're creating, you have to be very cautious while doing that lakehouse level or even the data pipelines too. When you are directly connecting to that, naming conventions part, it's very clear about it. Let me check. I am not sure about the path or else that particular link. If I provide it, I can share it, that link with you.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not aware of a page
Yeah,
that
I will
kind of
check. Yeah,
summarize
yeah.
that, but yeah, it's
Each and every learning page
Microsoft's
they have added.
very inconsistent on it, so that's very much
In the
his point.
learning page, they have already provided. Like when we are doing the thorough exercises, right? Labs part and the fabrics part. So they have provided like just a simple wording, naming conventions. Like you have to use the without spaces. So we will follow the same standards
Yeah,
accordingly.
but I don't think there's like a chart that just says
Yes, yes, yes. Agree.
warehouse allows it, lakehouse doesn't, data flows allows it. I don't think there's a
Yeah,
chart. I think
we
that's
don't.
what Amin's trying to ask. Yeah.
Understood. Yeah, yeah. It is not there in detail in some location. Fine. Thank you. Any other questions? Shall we proceed?
Yeah. No
Okay.
other questions right now. Thanks.
Okay. Is the similar like get data part? You can see the CSV file only, right? You can see my location. And by default, anyway, 200 records by default. Maybe if you want to configure the complete entire data set, we can configure the data type detection, but most of the time we will use by default first 200. Or still, if you want to configure your table, like customize the table, I don't want all the columns. If you're pulling the data via CSV or text or maybe from internal web source system, you can see a feature like add table using example. So this feature is allowed on three sources, either it is a CSV or text or internal browsers like web browser extraction, web-based extractions. You can see this feature like add table using example. You can customize the table, you can add it, the required columns specifically, and allow one or two records dynamically. Some enters, some manual records enter it. So remaining records will be automatically get fetched, and you can load the required table or else, customized table to your Dataflow Gen2. So currently I'm allowing all the columns. It's a simple table. Let's try to create it. As I said, it's a similar experience as like a Power Query editor, but here you're using the cloud-based environment part. In the left-hand side, you can see the queries, the connected query orders. Center, you can see the data. Right-hand side, these are the data transformations which has been performed. So fine, maybe if you want to add some columns, or else let me add one more column here, like order date. I want to see some new column with either the name of the day, like name of the day means which day that particular day, 6th month 1st 2022. In such kind of a scenario, we know we can add a column here from this date and it will get a load name of the day. So we don't need to write it. Maybe if you are interested and start writing the functions, we can also use this custom column and we can derive the new columns as well. And this is the new feature which has been added, and last night I had tried this feature, but still this is nothing but adding the column with example. So you can write with a simple English, a simple natural English. The output will be get it defined. So I have to try this one, add a prompt column wise. So this one also will help you, like example, custom column. So enter your prompt. We have to enter the what you are expecting from this data, and as well as you have to select from which table you want to get it define the data. This one is still a preview feature, but last night I tried, I got some error as well. So maybe I had to look over why that error and so on, because it's still preview feature it. And one more important configurations when you're working with the data flows, we have to get it enabled and cross verify on this options part, scale, whether this data is using the fast copy connector or not. Just try to cross verify, but this is by default enable. Sometimes it is also missing enablement, so sometimes it looks in this way disable. So just try to cross verify what I feel, in the sense when you are loading the file to the lake house or dedicated destinations, it is very quicker compared to the now if you are disable this particular faster copy accounts. So just try to cross verify this option as well. So it is already enabled at my end. So last night, as I said, I just checked whether it is enabled or not, and fine. And if you're observing still, the data destination part earlier, like a few months back, we can see something like a publish now or publish later that features day to day, monthly basis. Lot of improvements are happening on Microsoft Fabric. And here we don't have an option. We have to get it configure and we can load and apply those changes. So where we are going to do those options and so on. So at the top here, if you're observing that they have changed it completely, save as and run, or maybe if you want to save, run and close. Once complete setup is clear and your data is very good to go, such kind of a scenario you can save, run and close. So the option has been changed to at the top, save, run as a close here at the top. Earlier we can find this information in the down part, right hand side down corner below it's of data destination configuration. And fine, I just want to give a glimpses here what it is data destination. Currently anyway I have configured one of the uh, workspace, and as well as the new workspace, DW workspace, and as well as Lakehouse has just created. And here update or replace mechanism. Still, maybe if the file is already available and you want to create it as a new, this option will be definitely helpful if it is a new file loading onto the lakehouse, or maybe if you want to on the top of it, if you want to perform some changes or append some changes in such kind of a scenario, that data destination you have to remove it and reconfigured like this. Let me showcase to you how we are going to do it. I'm just deleting the data destination. You can add it from here, or from here at the top default destination, we can also add it. So removing this, we can add the destination. So where we are going to get it configure. So we just created the workspace and as well as the lake house. We can configure it here. Let me showcase that process to you. I'm just configuring one more time, or as maybe some another different workspaces means we can also get it configured that too. 1 second. Okay, 1 second. Let me check some gateway. One second. It just require a gateway as well. I'm using on-premises gateway for this. Any questions still after that?
No, no questions. Just a couple.
Okay, nice. Okay,
Oh, wait.
great.
Oh,
Fine.
somebody says I stopped using on-premise gateways. They always break. They're talking
Yes,
about
yes.
what they're using instead. But if you got to get on-prem, then you need it.
Yeah. Okay, it's reached offline. Okay, 1 second. Still, it's enabled for. Let me configure one more time. Sorry for this inconvenience. 1 second. Let me try. Give me a minute.
Maybe
One
we should
more
have an
connection.
impromptu discussion about gateways.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, look at all this shit. But I mean, isn't
Just
it? I'm sorry, we don't have to. Sorry.
I'm just retrying if offline. It's a simple file, but let's see. Without a gateway, will load it or not? We'll see that. I don't want to refresh it, but still it is asking the gateway configurations. Okay. Okay then. I have a backup as well. 1 second. The file, right, which we are extracting, we need to have a proper gateway. For that, I'm using on-premises, but it is offline now. That's fine. What I will do in the sense, I don't want to wait for you. So I have the similar file in my container. So I'm going to pull it over and then I will showcase to you. Is that okay, right? The processing part, I mean, extraction part. Let me showcase you that as well. Just give me a minute. Sorry for this. Gateway configuration is not allowed. So how it looks like once it is get created. Last one more trial and then okay, then it's not allowing me. So how it looks like. So let me showcase you this. Give me a minute. So the same file, if you're observing, uh, orders file, So once the gateway configuration, I have some problem in my mission. So maybe I have to restart or else restart complete a gateway configuration. So once you have configured the data destination, it will be get available and visible to you on this file. Like in the tables part, once it has been processed. So what I did in the sense, I just added one more new column day name. And after that, I have used the save and publish and close it. So after some time, the gateway configuration has been executed, the data flow. You can see the success status as well, data status success notification as well. So gateway is offline, so that's why it's turned off updates part. So once it is get visible to you on this particular works lake houses part, further part, what we are going to do it. So here I just want to showcase to how the data will be get visible or else available. So let me showcase you the process too. So the file will be get it visible to you on this particular URL part and M365 blob storage accounts. Here, the complete configurations and list as a set, the file will be get it stored in the form of a Delta Parquet file format, which is in the form of like maybe this file size is 3 MB. Now currently the file size is maybe the kilobytes, KBs. So that information also will be visible to you on this properties and so on. And here, one more important features once you load it, here run optimize command, so which is the speeding part, and as well as there is vacuum command is there. Maybe this file interval should be changed. Maybe after 7 days, I want to get it delete the retention policy part. We want to delete it. In such kind of a scenario, we can also enable this vacuum command like 7 days policy or maybe monthly. We are using in my real-time cases monthly basis the files once it is available. After that, the changes has been taken forward to my Medallion architecture data warehouse. We will delete the current stage files as well. Like that, we will process it here. Referencing and optimize is by default enabled, but vacuum command we will enable it via these commands, the retention policies part. So once it is done, and further part, what we will do. So as I said, we can reuse it or integrate this similar kind of a files to your uh, data pipelines too. So how we are going to get it configure. So for data pipelines too, because the file is on-premises based, we need a gateway configuration. But how I'm going to call this data flow one to my pipeline. So let me showcase to you the process as well. So how we are going to get it integrated and how we are going to reuse it. Get data. Let me create a new pipeline. Orders. By default, you can see a copy command, complete browser setup, a wizard from step by step. So what activities we are going to do? Maybe if it is a new data ingestion part, some frame where you are going to get it extract or complete setup. So you can follow this part and the file will be get it visible to you on the same lake house where we are going to get it configure. So otherwise, as I said, currently our activities, I want to integrate that particular data flow one to my pipeline building. So in such kind of a scenario, I'm just closing this one. Yes. And here pipeline activity is there. We can click on this and you can see the name. If you're observing right, this particular lakehouse part, M365 vCon workspace part, Dataflows Gen1 already created, and this error is because of update has been get failed. Let me showcase you this one. Order flow. So you can call this particular data pipeline one. So you can search it either here at the top, data flow, search it. And here the settings part, you have to select general and settings part. You can select the settings and here you can call it. So data flow one. Or maybe if you already provided some dedicated naming conventions, you can get it as per the naming conventions as well. So from here, you can also process with some more transformation, and as well as why you just navigated to the data pipeline means we can also schedule here the data pipeline with as per the data availability. So here you can use the schedule mechanism and you can configure accordingly. But currently I want to execute and get it visible once the process has been done. I want to get it visible this particular data pipeline to my lake houses. In such kind of a scenario, I'm going to run it. Currently, as I said, the gateway is not up to the mark, and run it. And this particular file, once you have get it configure, and the file will be get it visible to you on this lake house itself. So here it will be get visible to you once the processed information will be showcased here. After that, we can proceed with the further processing, and we can develop our semantic model and then reporting as well. And the second way of using the reusing of this data flow here, I can also make use of, if you're using the Power BI desktop level, how we are going to get it configure the same data pipeline, I mean, whatever you have created the data flows on Power BI desktop, how you're going to reuse it. Such kind of a scenario, get data here. Either you can use this part, data flow. If you are not able to see the data flow directly, you can also find it over get data, more options, Microsoft Fabric platform, from here to data flow. Okay. From Power Platform legacy source system, Power BI data flow legacy systems also there. So maybe if you are using data flows from here also you can get it connect. So currently it is a data flow, right? Just try to get it, extract the data flow, and you can see the complete workspaces, whatever that has been created. So workspaces part. So I'm currently using the workspace name called M365 one. I mean, though I have created the new one, but the file is not visible because of the failure of the gateway. Let me use this one, and we can get it configure the file, and furtherly the data flow one, we can proceed. If you want to perform few more transformation, the main advantage here, most of the data cleansing operations and making your data defined properly in the cloud-based environment. And further part, we can proceed and take it forward on your Power BI desktop, and we can start data visualization and then showcasing the analysis further on your Power BI desktop. Like that, we are going to get it proceed. So any questions up to this part? How we are going to reuse the same gateway on multiple places. Either you can integrate the pipeline wise and schedule further and do further activities, or via Power BI desktop level, we can configure and proceed one more time. Fine. What I will do in the sense, as of now, this particular activity, the lakehouse configuration wise, it has been get failed. What I will do in the sense, I will try to load one more file into our the workspace which I have created via container data files, and then I will showcase to how this file will be get visible to you data pipeline processing part. Let me showcase you that one more similar scenario. Data LH file is still not available. What I will do in the sense, I will showcase to another mechanism to get it extract the file via pipeline, okay, without using this gateway configurations and so on. I'm using a new pipeline here. New pipeline. Now we will see the staging area, layer enablement and so on via this pipeline. Let me showcase you that as well, because I'm going to extract the data from one of the blob storage, and we'll see that process. Azure blob. So we need to have a dedicated account here, and I'm currently using the shared access SAS signature access, which is valid for next to 6 months. Suppose most of the time we will use this authentication mechanism, or we can also get it configure if you want to authentication mechanisms part, organization or else something. But I'm currently using the SAS, which is valid. That particular API link validity is up to 6 months. So this is the configuration I'm currently using going. So that has been configured, and let's see that path has been get a trigger, and we can try to pull over one particular file. The file is available. Let me showcase to my blob storage account as well. Same file is not there. Let me pull over the sales DWH.CSV file via blob. Data files. Sales CSV file it is. And here, when you are extracting, injecting the data via pipeline, you can see the step-by-step process at left-hand side. It's very easy and comfortable for us. Way two, here also we can choose the data destination. So you can see here the choose the data destination. You can choose it and the data demo, which I have created the workspace, and then data LH. Or maybe if you want to configure some another destinations, you can also get it configured here. So you can see the data as a part of a preview at the down. These are all the columns which are available. And Let's try to go next. Still here, you can change the data types, and as well as you can also configure that root folder, whether it is going to store in the form of a table or files. The load settings part, do you want to load it as the existing table or load it as a new table? By default, these are the configurations. And DBO is the by default schema. Anyway, in the lakehouse as well, DBO is a schema, sales DWH. And I've just tried to change some of the data types. Date data type is not a string here. I'm changing to the date. And remaining mechanism I'm just using as it is. And let's try to check it from where to where. So earlier, when you are doing the data extraction ingestion via pipeline, you can see the enablement of staging. When you're extracting the data from SSMS, I mean, dedicated on-premises source system, the staging enablement is by default in enable, and we have to get it configured where to store that staging file onto dedicated location. So in such kind of a scenario, we configured some lake houses like this. So in the container level, we can configure and process that particular day-to-day staging files. But when you're extracting the data from one of the container itself, we cannot see that staging enablement. So directly we can process and we can store, and we can get it visualize this particular table information on your connected or else created lakehouse itself. It will take some time, the processing part. And a similar experience, as I said, the data pipelines, how we are observing. So source, and here, this is the path which I have been extracted. And the destination I have choose, this is the current destination and the name. Maybe if you want to change the name and check the data preview, you can check it once it has been loaded. And a few more advanced configurations here, like enable the partition means as per the data level, we can do the partitions to like size-based partitions and then proceed it. And these are the mappings like column to column mapping. Still, if you want to change or else delete the columns, we can also delete it and we can proceed it further. And if you're observing the success notification part, the process has been just successfully executed. And even I will follow most of the times these notifications, whether if there is any failure like this pipeline running failure, or if it is succeeded, I'm going to observe this particular notification dependent. Otherwise, I can observe just here. And let me navigate back to my workspace and check it over. It has been successfully executed. Otherwise, I can see an error notification here itself. So refresh. Yeah, sales DWH. Just like earlier, I tried with the orders table, but due to the configuration of the gateway, I'm not able to manage to do that. But this is the process to choose the destination as well as the similar file. We can make use of it anywhere, further activities part or else further developments as well. And I'll just try to showcase to you. Let me see the data first and then move on to the next activity. Any questions still?
There was a couple that were put out here.
Okay.
And I know we're getting close to the top of the hour again. You could go,
Okay.
over if you need
Yeah,
to.
almost.
But it's was questioning, are you going to cover incremental refresh? And if you have a scenario for that, they might want to see that. But if not, that's okay.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I don't have a current scenario because currently I'm using the trial capacity, but I'm testing part. But we can perform also that incremental refresh. But still, sometimes I'm facing in my real-time case studies, I'm facing some issues on the top of it. Incremental refresh also doable, but it's sometimes based on the configurations part, start date and date, it is getting failed when you are configuring on the reporting part. That's what I have observed. So I have raised that similar concern as a kind of an idea why it is getting failed, a kind of an issues level.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
let me showcase to you. Yeah.
One last question that's in there, or maybe you could choose to, if you're going to be covering that. How are Microsoft Fabric data flows different than Power BI data flows?
That's what I just explained. I mean, Power BI data
Okay.
flows, we can proceed with, online, whatever you are performing the Dataflows Gen1, that will supports on the Power BI. And Dataflows Gen2, if you're working on the huger capacity and if you want to get it stored on your lake house or what are dedicated different variety of destinations, we can configure via Dataflows Gen2. So main thing is online Power Query. We are going to work most of the data transformations in the cloud-based environment itself, so that you will feel that when you are pulling the information or else connecting that data flow connection to your Power BI desktop, you feel like very seamless and processing part very quicker That's what I have observed compared to most of the transformations I'm pulling over Power Query Editor and doing the processing part and applying the transformations. It's impacting the time consumption as well as execution part. So what I will do in the sense, if my capacity, the data set size are very huge and I want to get it stored and some lake houses are integrated with Microsoft Fabric related destinations, I can proceed with the Dataflow Gen2. So here, if you're observing the differences too, so which will we get support the Power BI level if you're using the Pro licenses, Dataflow Gen1 will be obviously we are going to make use of it, which acts like a Power Query online editor, and Dataflow Gen2 where we are going to observe here, whenever if you are activating the Fabric related workspaces or capacity CUs, in such kind of a scenario, better to move on to the Dataflow Gen2 capacities, and you can see the, as I said, right, incremental refresh is also possible while doing the data refreshes. So refreshing part, if you are using the smaller data set, the limit refresh is very slow here. But if you are using the Dataflow Gen2, as I said, incremental refresh is possible. That is there. Sometimes while configuring the start date and date, I face some of the lag and issues. So we have the functionality to incremental refresh is also possible via Dataflow Gen2. Connectivity mode, you can get it extract via like premium capacities anyway it is required, and one lake is supported. Maybe we can across the various variety of workloads, if you are using this particular Dataflow Gen2 and Microsoft Fabric loads, you can configure it. Maybe I want to do further processing on the database level storage, I can store that data flows into your Azure cloud environments as well, databases to Cosmos DB or SQL database, wherever you want it. And cost efficiency, you just have to check it, and CSV format computes, and Delta Parquet file format, which I have showcased to you. Once the file will be get visible to you on the lake houses, file will be stored in the columnar. Delta Parquet means columnar storage instead of a row by row, so which will be a better performance in such kind of scenario. So these are major differences and the key features which has been provided in the first column. Hope it is helpful. And this is the key benefits and the limitations. So data flows are not a replacement for the, mainly limitations are moving on. Many benefits are there. If you are observing at the top, performance and optimizations part, we can use it. Limitations part, we will not use it, and it is not at all a replacement for the data warehouse. Row level security is still not supported when you are using the data flows and get it configured with proper regions or locations. And we need, if we want to make use of the Dataflow Gen2, obviously we need to configure and enable the Dataflow Gen2. That means obviously Fabric capacity is required. So currently, maybe if you want to get it explored with some sample data source systems, we can use the trial account. But going forward, if you want to make it as a dedicated environment, we need to get start with the F2 capacities onwards and above, like F4, F8, F32, F64, and so on. More than that. So these are the benefits and limitations. Hope it is helpful. And these resources, if required, I can share it with you where, and maybe if you want to try it on your own face, so that, and any questions or concerns, let me know. And I'm thankful to the organizers, Kevin, and moderators and participants. And sorry for in between, there is a glitch, like a gateway configuration issue. So that's the reason I just moved on to the some another activity. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we
Thank
know
you.
it's live, right? I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
always the demo gods have to be with you. So yeah, thank you. We'll
Yeah.
give just a second if anybody wants to enter another question or raise their
Any
hand and ask a question.
any questions?
Yeah, people are just saying thank you in the chat. Not seeing. Oh, we do have Isaac has a question. Go ahead if you want to come off mute and ask your question.
Yes. Thank you for the session. Okay, that was a great demonstration of the data flow. And my
Thank
question
you.
here is, you see like how, let's say we have many files and like those files have a different name. How can we make
Okay.
sure we have the same process, like by like automatically creating every new table in our lake house?
So when you're configuring it, I mean, you can see that configuration files, right? I mean, the source part. There you can check it, and even you can try to rename the new file names, or else maybe if there is already exist, you just have to configure whether you want to replace it or else append the existing, I mean, new files or tables. So in that way, we can do that configurations to get it stored in the dedicated lake houses or warehouse. Maybe still, if you need more details or information, let me know so that you can ping me on LinkedIn so that I can help you out.
Okay, I will. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hey, Rajendra,
No.
one more quick question I do have.
Mm-hmm.
How many
Tell me.
sources can you connect? Variety of sources like connectors.
Via Dataflow Gen2?
Yeah, Dataflow Gen2.
So as like how we are connecting on Power BI desktop, like I have just showcased to
Oh,
you
okay.
one approach, right? So I mean, intermediately I showcased you via data pipeline too. You can connect variety of data source systems via this particular process. It's not limited. Just like you can explore whatever the number of files, you can extract it from the various source systems. You can perform the cleansing operations inside the Dataflow Gen2, and then you can all the tables, right? You have to get it select, and it will be get it navigated to the data lake houses part. Like that, you can get it configure. Okay.
Okay. I think.
Thank you, Kevin,
All
for
right,
this
great.
opportunity. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for presenting. Let me go ahead and stop the recording.